I've been doing lots of knitting on my Eve dress to try and just gain a little bit more length, and I've actually gotten quite far. I'm sort of at the top of my bum here now. For some reason, and I had this with the first version of the dress that I tried, I can't put this down, even though it's not like the most fun project to work on. Like, you're kind of just going round and the yarn is a bit annoying to work with. There's something about just like really wanting to build up the length that has meant that I haven't been working on anything else. The sequins are looking really good now that I'm paying more attention on not having any sequins on the inside, so that's pretty good coverage. The back is a little bit higher than I was hoping for. I kind of needed to be somewhere in between my first version, which was quite low, and now this one I sort of want it there because you can't see all of my back tattoo, but maybe after some blocking and possibly some steaming it will sink down a little bit more. I just know that with this yarn being mostly cotton, I find that steaming doesn't really do much difference to cotton yarn projects, so we'll see if it does make any difference. Christmas is on Thursday, it's currently Monday, and I have a few more things I need to prep beforehand, so we're going to do that today. I'll take this off again and then we'll head upstairs into the office, which is currently a mess. I really need to tidy up there. I was just gonna move the bench upstairs, which I used to keep in the office, but we brought it down when our friends came over a couple of days ago for dinner. But that reminded me that just now, this morning in the city, I went to buy one very specific book, and then I ended up buying 5 books. This is the book that I went out for, The Lamb. I started reading this on my Kindle, and when I went to the bookstore last time, I saw that they had it. So I was hoping they still had it so I can add this to my bookshelf. I'm about 80 pages in at the moment and it's amazing. I also got Kala. I read this at the very beginning of this year and this was so good. I loved it so much. But I borrowed it from the library, so I didn't have a physical copy of it. And I like to have all my 4- and 5-star books as a physical copy on my bookshelf. This does also bring me on to all my 2025 favourites and least favourite books that I read this year. I'm going to talk about them right at the end of this video, so everyone who's not interested in book related content can stop the video there, and everyone else can keep watching if you are interested to hear more about my sort of favourite reads. Spoiler, this is one of them. And then I got 3 hardcovers of books that I have been eyeing up. I got this one because I read Babel on audiobook recently, which was so good, 5 stars from me. And then I saw someone talk about this book, which I don't know if this is a new release, but it sounds really, really good. Very sort of similar to Babel in like the sort of fantasy type vibe. So I'm excited to read this. Bury My Bones in the Midnight Soil. I've been eyeing this up for so long. I didn't realise how big this was. I thought this was like a smaller book. Yeah, I've been meaning to read this for the longest time. I don't know why I haven't. I just haven't like bought it, I guess. So in that moment, I thought now's the time, and again, very excited to read this. Heard many, many good things about this. And then I picked up We Love You Bunny. I kind of wanted to read it, but I never really wrote it down on my TBR and sort of forgot. I love Bunny, again, a book that I read at the start of this year. I've been meaning to read more of Mona A. Ward's books this year, but I just haven't come around to it. So this will be another one that hopefully I can get to next year. Right, I'm gonna grab the bench now and then we can tidy up upstairs. I have my box of yarn here that I've been using for my Christmas jumper, which I unfortunately had to put on hold because I ran out of yarn, and I kind of thought that would happen. However, didn't want to buy or order any more yarn until I was sure how much more I needed. So I ran out of the brown yarn. The jumper is currently looking like this, so I need to make one more arm. The last time that I blocked it, something happened in my washing machine. So I'll usually just give it a hand wash and then spin and drain on my washing machine, which has always been fine. I've never had any issues with it. For some reason, it didn't work this time round and my jumper got trapped in there. And so it kind of dyed the beige colour a bit more brown, and it's just gotten so much more fuzzy. I think on camera it doesn't actually look that bad, but in person it's not ideal. So whether this is a washing machine problem, which I do think to some extent it is, or whether I need to choose a different yarn for this for when I make my pattern, I don't quite know yet. We'll see what the longevity of this is like, but it is a little bit annoying that the brown has really sort of mixed into the beige. I can't express how much darker this has now become. So a little bit disappointing, and I won't actually be able to finish this in time for Christmas, I don't think, because like I said, I have like 3 more days left and the yarn hasn't even arrived in the UK yet, I don't think. So probably gonna finish this after Christmas, which is fine. I've made peace with that. I can't change the fact. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm going to just put this aside for now until the new yarn arrives. Then we have a bunch of yarns, so I'll sort all these out. I ordered some new yarn to try out for one of these cardigans, and I wanted to try some Sandascan yarn, so I got the Borsted Alpaca, and I'm going to hold it with the Sunday from Sandascan. I've already worked up a swatch. Hold on, I'll show you. It's up here, and the gauge works for this cardigan. So I'm gonna cast that on sometime in the new year. I'm really holding off casting it now because I really want to cast it on now, but I have other more important things to get on with. I also ordered some Drops Flora to try out as an alternative for the Knitting for Olive Merino. And I went for this sort of colour scheme thinking that might work quite nicely for some kind of project, but I really don't like this pink. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with the pink, but the green and the beige is quite nice. We also have 2 of my Eve dress swatches and the top half of my first Eve dress, which I still need to frog, but I'm really putting off. The table's all nice and cleared up again, which is lovely. So I just did some work on my laptop. I'm missing my couch in that corner because we brought it downstairs again for when our friends came over because we were missing a seat, and I can't really be asked to bring it back upstairs. So I think we're going to keep it down there for a little bit more, just like a few more days, I guess. I rewrote my to-do list for the next 2 to 3 weeks, made it a bit more concise, a bit more realistic as well. So the Christmas jumper needs to be done by the 30th because I've made an appointment with my tag editor and she's expecting the pattern then. And then the Eve dress is actually the next thing that I need to, well, the first thing that I need to get done because I want to give it time to dry after the blocking so I can wear it on New Year's Eve. And then I have a couple scooties that I need to get done and the blue Sandascan yarn cardigan that I want to make. I am launching my crochet scootie pattern this week. Well, at the end of this week on Sunday, and for that I basically started to re-crochet the scarf section because I'm making it for a family friend, and this originally was a medium length but she wanted a long length, so I started making a long one, but I kind of messed it up as well, so I had to redo this one anyways. And I now realised that for the launch wouldn't then have a medium length one because the one that I'm making for my sister is also going to be a long one, so I just want to have a medium length scootie so I can take some pictures, like marketing pictures, listing pictures for the pattern. So I'm going to unravel this scarf again and I'm going to go back to what the scootie originally was and make a medium length one, which is a little bit annoying, but I haven't crocheted in so long. Some of you who might have only watched my December videos might not even know that I crochet. I do also crochet. Winter time for me is knitting, and all I've been thinking about the last 2 months is knitting and knitting only. I'm gonna go head downstairs since there is nowhere for me to sit, like no couch for me to sit on. I'm gonna head downstairs and redo the scarf. I'm quite excited for it as well because I haven't followed this pattern in a while, so I think it'll be quite good for me to follow it myself just ahead of the launch, just to make sure that everything's all good. But I'm excited to share this with everyone on the 28th of December, this Sunday. Don't sit on that. Don't sit on that. No. You are so silly. My fringe was really annoying me today, so I had to pin it back. So this is a forehead reveal. I finished one of the scooty sides, so this one, and it's actually matching up with the pattern. Wow, that is just incredible when I can actually follow my own pattern. That is truly groundbreaking. But this is so humbling wearing this without my fringe out. It's just so much forehead. I apologise. But this is gonna wrap around once and then it will tie at the back once I've done the other side. But I think maybe we'll do that tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out whether I'm meeting my friends at the pub tonight. And if I do, then I'm gonna bring my Eve dress with me, because the more I think about it, finishing the Eve dress will really kind of like clear a lot of headspace for me, because it is such a big project and it does need to be done quite soon. So I do think I want to try and crack on with that as much as I can. I am going to take a very quick little break because I want to move some stuff around in the living room. So this chair obviously used to live upstairs in the office, and like I said, we put it down here for our early sort of friend Christmas celebrations, which does mean that I had to kind of squeeze the Christmas tree in the corner there, and it does look really nice, but I want to see the Christmas tree more and I want to put the presents underneath it. So I kind of want to swap the Christmas tree with the bookcase because I think the chair is going to stay there long term, and I'm going to try and get something different for my office upstairs. So I'm going to move the bookcase over that way. We'll see how that goes. This bookcase is holding on by a thread. It's not very sturdy, so I need to take all the books out, move them, put all the books back in. I'm gonna very quickly do that now. It's all been swapped around, and I do think you can see the tree much better. It's just such an awkward little spot. I took the armrest off the chair that way. I love the IKEA Soderham chairs for that because it's so modular and changeable. Just because the tree was kind of, again, getting blocked, and it's also hard to get to the light and the curtains that way. So you can just kind of, well, I can just sort of climb over the corner there, and it's mostly Betty sleeping on there anyways. And then obviously the tree's only gonna really be up for like another week or so anyways. So at least for Christmas Day, Boxing Day, we'll have some presents out, and I can now sit back and look at my tree, which is so nice. I don't really know what is happening tonight. I think currently the state is to meet in about an hour or so. So I might have some dinner and then we will see. This forehead situation is stressing me out. I'm not used to having it so on show. That is, yeah, anyways. I've decided I am going to do a little bit more crochet on this and start the other side of the scarf, just because I'm in the headspace for it now, so I might as well. And we'll see how much, just ignore Betty playing in the background with her toy. We're gonna see how much I can get done until I need to head out. So it is now 5:26, and yeah, we'll see how far I can get. It is now 6:37, so what was that, like just over an hour, and I've actually finished the scarf, so I don't need to take this to the pub for me anymore. But yeah, this is how it then looks. I was obviously thinking about taking my Eve dress with me to the pub, but I actually think it's too big of a project and I need to like fully take it out, and I don't really want to do it. Like I want to be kind of more sly with it. I guess I will see you tomorrow morning for some more Eve dress knitting. Yeah, I don't know what else I'm going to get up to. I guess we'll see. Good morning. It is Tuesday. I've got somewhat of a fringe back, so I can show you the Scooty now without looking like an absolute pea head. That looks much better. And what I like about the crochet version is that you can really pull up the scarf and then you're all shielded from the wind. I'm heading to Pilates this morning, and then afterwards I thought I would go to the cafe and knit from there for a couple hours. So I'm going to take my Eve dress with me this time, make some progress on that. Otherwise, I don't really have that much to update you on. It's kind of a bit awkward that I was trying to get a lot of stuff done before Christmas, but like I haven't got the yarn to do it. Realistically, all I can work on from my to-do list, like in order, is the Eve dress. And I do think once that is done, it will be such a weight off my shoulders. Plan for today, go to Pilates, go to a cafe, start a new audiobook because I am going to DNF Dead of Winter. It just annoys me too much. So I don't know what else I have on my library, what else is there on Spotify. We'll have a little look. But yeah, let's start the day. It's the next day already because I bumped into my friend Lucy at the cafe and I ended up staying until it was dark out. I didn't really get to film much, but I did do a lot of knitting. Lucy is like one of my only like other self-employed friends, so it's really nice when we bump into each other there and get to work alongside each other. I haven't actually really looked at the length of the dress since the morning or whenever I last looked at it, really. Hold on, I'm so glad I can show you this. This is what I'm talking about when I say that the yarn snags. Do you see how this yarn is getting caught on the sequins? It's genuinely so frustrating because you end up with so much loose yarn and so many snags that you can't really prevent. And that's one big thing that I really dislike about this dress is the yarn combo of that sequin yarn with the, it's happened somewhere else, I can feel it. I'm hoping that this doesn't happen as often when you just keep it like on a hanger or something, but it is very annoying. Anyways, this is the length of it. I think I will just try it on and we can see. Okay, I definitely have worked up a little bit of length. It's not as long as I thought it was, to be honest. I have so much more to add. I did think about obviously the back not being as low as I wanted it to, but I think in theory I might be able to now wear a bra underneath this, especially also now that the sides here are a lot higher. So that's quite a good thing. I wanna now, I think, try and steam this. Like I said, I don't think much is going to happen in the steaming. However, what I do think is going to relax a little bit at least is the increases and decreases around the keyhole here. Just because the steam is going to relax those stitches a lot more. I don't think anything else is going to relax, really. That's just my prediction, but we're gonna just try it because if it works, it's obviously going to impact the length of the dress as well. So I want to try it now before I end up making it long, and then the steaming will make it longer, like too long. So yeah, Let's try and give it a steam. It actually worked. This truly is blowing my mind. I didn't expect this at all. It has drooped quite a fair bit, so you can at least see the tiger almost in its full glory. But I do take it back. I won't be able to wear bra with this any longer, which is a shame. But I do think it now looks much better with this sort of size of the cutout. It's obviously all going to look a little bit different anyways after I block it. And it's been worn, but this is like perfect now. I love it so much. I actually had the yarn delivered that I was waiting for from Hobby, but annoyingly I messed up my order and only got one of each of these. So this is going to be the colour scheme for my sister Scooty, but I need 2 of these each. I don't know how I didn't get it right. I had a lot on my mind, so I'll need to do another order, which is annoying. I also ordered the baby alpaca blend to try out instead of the brushed alpaca. Oh yeah, I also ordered more of this colorway for the medium Scooty that I was working on this week, which eventually I'm going to turn into a long Scooty for my family friend. And for the long version, I need more yarn. But I actually think I might take a break for this evening, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. And I'm going to get back to it with the Christmas jumper / the Eve dress on the 27th. I don't ever really have a day where I don't knit, and I'm absolutely fine with that. Like, no one's forcing me to do it. I love it. But I think it would be nice to take a little bit of a break. So that's what I'm going to do. So I think this might have been the last bit of knitting and crocheting that I'm going to do before Christmas. Yeah, this is the part of the video where I'm going to talk about all my favourite and least favourite books of 2025. So if this is not for you, you can stop the video here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. For everyone else, I'm going to start with my favourite books because I fear that I'm going to be really negative about all the books that I didn't like. So I want to start off on a positive note. I read about 54 books this year, and out of those I have 7 5-star reads, which feels like not a lot, to be honest. I do think I'm picky, but my 5-star reads are like the ones that are more like an emotional connection, like they just feel like a favorite read. So not a lot of books would qualify for that. I have lots of 3-star reads, I have lots of 4-star reads as well. The difference for me between a 4-star and a 5-star is how much I end up talking about a book and how much I recommend it. And all of these 5-star books are ones that I talked about a lot to my friends and my family, that I think about a lot even now, and that I would recommend to most people. So that's my 5-star reads. I'm missing 2 of them, which were either an audiobook or a library book, but these are the 5 that I have. I'm going to go in order of what I read throughout the year. So I started the year with I Who Have Never Known Men. This was the first read of 2025. Started off with a banger, a short one as well. This book's been talked about so much this year, especially. I found it so intriguing, so mystical, and very open to interpretation, but it was also heartbreaking, devastating at the same time. It has so many like underlying metaphors, and I love a book that makes me want to research more about it and look up theories once I've finished it. That to me is always a good sign that I really enjoyed the book. I've realised also this year that I really like a childlike narrator. I think children as protagonists have sort of an unreliable narrator thing about them, where you don't really know if what they are relaying is genuinely happening that way, or if that is just their interpretation at this stage in their life and of how they're understanding certain situations. In this one, it was really prominent, especially because you could tell that a lot of the older women surrounding the protagonist were clearly withholding information to either protect the child or because they didn't think they could trust the child or whatever. So that's what I really liked about this one. I like sort of dystopian books of fiction. Then I read Bunny. This one I borrowed from the library, so I don't have a physical copy. I don't really know what to say about it other than it was really weird, it was really strange. I didn't really know what was going on most of the time. Even after I finished the book, I didn't really understand what was happening. I couldn't tell you what was really going on. You didn't really know what was really happening, what was just in the protagonist's mind, if any of it was real. Yeah, again, just like the unreliable narrator, and it was just really strange and really weird, and I loved it. Then I read Calla, and this was so good. I was obsessed with this book for ages. It's set in a small Irish town, and it centres the disappearance of a girl, and it's sort of written from 3 friends' perspectives, both from their adult selves as well as their child selves when the disappearance happened. And I like the multiple perspectives. I also really like the characters. It really felt like a coming of age story whilst also being like this mystery thriller story. Their relationships felt really real, their dialogue felt really real, and it just really made me feel for them and really care for the final sort of resolution. It also is such a good representation of how people in a small town are all so intertwined and connected. This book really started a love of teenage girl disappears in a small town. I love any book like that, and this was the very first one that started my obsession with that. And the next 5-star book was Blue Ticket by Sophie Mackintosh. I love anything that Sophie Mackintosh writes, and this one might actually be one of my favourites. I read in one of her Substack posts that this was actually the least commercially successful one, which blows my mind because this is so good. It's very Handmaid's Tale-esque. This is basically about a dystopian world where on the first day of your period, girls pull a ticket, and if you get a white ticket, that means you are going to have children, and if you get a blue ticket, that means you don't. It's very bizarre, it's very strange. The dialogue and the way that people interact with each other is really odd, very true to the sort of dystopian style. It's obviously about like female autonomy, about choice, and the main character is very flawed. The ending just broke my heart. It's just very good. I read this within like 2 days, and I still think about this to this day. It really left a big impression on me. My next 5-star read was Martyr, and this didn't feel like a book that I would have really been interested in picking up if I hadn't seen everyone else talk about it. And so I thought it doesn't hurt to just see what all the hype is about, and people weren't lying. This is a very good book. I have a lot of dog ears of like quotes and stuff. The writing of this is just so good. The characters felt so real that I couldn't believe that this wasn't autobiographical. It just felt like real people from real life experience. The protagonist is basically very lost at this stage in his life, and he kind of goes on like a mission. And whilst you kind of follow his sort of life and this mission that he's on, you also get sort of flashbacks and insights into his family's life from his dad's perspective, his mum's, his uncle's. And every single plot point in this book matters, and it ties together, and it has a purpose. Nothing feels like it's filler. Everything has something to say, and I just loved it for that. It felt very real, very heartfelt, and yeah, I loved it. The next one, another pink one. I have a lot of pink books in this collection, but the next 5-star read was Reservoir Bitches, and this is sort of a collection of short stories. What I liked about these stories was that some of them were standalone, but then some of the stories sort of linked together. But all the stories kind of give a fictional insight into these women's lives. I might just read the little blurb because it just describes it way better than I could. 13 Mexican women prod the bitch that is life as they fight, sew, skirt, cheat, cry, and lie their way through their tangled circumstances. So it's all kinds of women and all kinds of walk of life in Mexico, and it's very fascinating, heartbreaking, funny, just makes you feel all the emotions. Then I have 2 audiobooks that are part of my 5-star reads. First, we have Flapvona, which was such a surprising read. I didn't really see myself being into this kind of story. I also wasn't like the biggest fan of My Year of Rest and Relaxation, so again, didn't have like the highest hopes. But this was so different. This is completely different. This is basically a historic fiction about this like medieval town collection of people who are going just through medieval life. So you kind of bounce between different characters within this town as they go through a famine, and you read it again from a child's perspective, but then you also read it from the adult's perspective. Then later on in the book you move to the palace and you read it from the king's perspective, and all these ridiculous characters, and you realize how kind of silly the people are, how death and starvation happens because of someone's stupid decisions. It's obviously not like historic fact, but you can kind of very much imagine how life might have played out back then. The characters and the dialogue was just so interesting, and I really cared for the characters. Like, they really left such a big mark on me, and I think about the story and yeah, the characters all the time. It's a very strange book. I don't think it is for everyone, to be honest, but I, with this book, very much realized I love a weird and strange story. I love weird and strange dialogue and characters, and this very much feels like such a good representation of that. I then very recently actually listened to Babel. I, again, didn't have high hopes because I don't think I'm the biggest fan of dark academia. I never finished The Secret History. I really didn't like When We Were Villains, and so I didn't really know whether I was going to like this. And this is my Secret History. I love this book so much. The characters are so much more likable. I really cared about their future and the outcome of the sort of main conflict. And there was also very good character development, sort of where we got to in the end. There was some really good character development over the course of the 4 or 5 years. I also haven't read any fantasy this year, so I liked how faint the elements of fantasy were. They kind of were the main part of the story, but they were very underlying, and you didn't have to follow some elaborate sort of fantastical new, I don't know, rules and whatever. The fantasy elements in this book were very much based on real life problems, and that's what I loved about this book. The fact that this fantasy story was based on real life events of colonialism, the themes of privilege, racism, allyship were so fascinating, and I do actually think that I learned a lot from this book about that sort of part of history. And that's all my favourite reads of 2025. Now, there are 5 books that I DNF. The first one was Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. I listened to that on audiobook and I just couldn't get into it. The next one was The Rachel Incident, and this book actually annoyed me. I don't know if I just misunderstood, but I thought this was supposed to be like a really good like queer relationship representation, and I don't know if this was part of like the character development because I only made it about 10 or 20% into the book, but I thought that the dialogue was really cringe, and I didn't love like the terminology used in some of the dialogue. It just felt a bit tone deaf for a queer story. Could just be me though and how I interpreted it. Then there were some recent DNFs. I didn't finish Butcher. I didn't think it was bad, I just didn't care how it ended. Like, didn't care at all. Then I finished Krampus literally 60% in. Like, I think I had about 100 pages left. I didn't care how it ended. I just didn't. And then I finished Dead of Winter. The dialogue annoyed me, the main character annoyed me, the way everything was set up annoyed me, and yeah, didn't finish it. Then I wanted to mention all the 1 to 2 star books of this year, but I think there's actually too many to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about a selection of books that I'm going to donate, because I basically try and keep all my 4 and 5 star books on my bookshelves, and I don't want to hold on to the 1 and 2 star reads just because I need the space. So just know there are a lot more that are within that category, like audiobooks, library books, Kindle books. I'm just not going to mention all of them. We would be here forever. Here we go. These are all the books that I'm getting rid of. I just want to say to start with as well, if I'm talking about books that you really like, please don't take it personally. There are various different reasons why I didn't like any of these books, and majority of them are just based on personal opinion and what I enjoy reading. First up, we've got Self-Help, and I really like the premise of this book. It's again kind of like a collection of short stories. Some of the stories really resonated and I really liked them, but I think there were only like a couple out of all the stories, and yeah, I was just a bit bored and really desperate to finish it, and that says a lot for such a small book. Then we have The Friend. Again, mostly I was bored. It felt more of like a philosophical read rather than like a plot-driven piece of fiction. I really like stories about dogs, so the dog was the best bit of this book, but it wasn't really about anything. Like, the plot kind of just worked as a tool in order to theorize and philosophize, which is fair. That might work for some people, but I wanted plot, I wanted proper fiction, and I didn't realize that wasn't what I was getting with this book. Then Outline. I really did not like this book. I actively hated her writing style in this. I haven't read any other ones. I don't know if this is how she writes in all of them. It just felt really clunky and I couldn't concentrate on the plot at all because of how it was written, and so I was just annoyed her whole time I was reading this. Then we have Hot Milk. And this was so weird, but like not in a good way. We've established that I like weird and strange books, but this was just weird and not like a good way. I really liked the premise of this book, but again, maybe this just felt a little bit too philosophical for me. I also watched the film, and the film wasn't very good either. So there is that. Then we have Sunstruck. This felt very similar to Saltburn, actually. The setup was very similar. And I think just like Saltburn, this was trying to say something very clever and sort of groundbreaking, and it just did it in the most basic way possible. I felt like a lot of the dialogue was very cringy. The exposition was so obvious. You could kind of tell exactly where the plot was going based on certain conversations that just felt really obvious, and yeah, it just wasn't giving what I was hoping it to give. I can see how some people really like this. I think for me it was just mainly the dialogue that let it down because it was so cringe and so predictable, unfortunately. Then I read Cat's Eye, and oh my god, this was so depressing. This is one of those that I ranked quite low, but I don't think it's a bad book. I don't think it's written badly because it made me feel a lot of emotions, mainly depression. It was so sad and it wasn't getting any better. I think about halfway through, I had to go on Reddit to see where this was going, and loads of people were like, yeah, it doesn't get any less depressing. I still finished it. I don't know how. I did actually dog ear some things as well, which usually means I like the book, but just the experience of reading it wasn't enjoyable at all, which I don't think warrants a low rating, I have to say. I think if a book makes you feel lots of emotions but it's difficult to read, it can still be a high rating. It's just of how I want to keep track of my ratings. I didn't enjoy it, so I'm not going to rate it very high. I should have also just not finished it. It's such a big book. I didn't need to read all of that. I didn't. I think I had high hopes for this because this is written from a child's perspective, and again, we've established I like that. But the main character is so bitter and miserable, and she continues to be like that when she's older. She's holding all of these grudges. Just made me feel miserable as well. Then we have Crudo, and this has left no impression on me, which I think again could be a personal issue. I might have just not been like paying enough attention when I was reading it. It's a very short read. Again, a few dog ears in there. I couldn't tell you what happened. Genuinely couldn't tell you. So don't need to be keeping this on my bookshelf. And we have two books that I genuinely highly dislike. I already mentioned it, but If We Were Villains, this was a hate read. I only finished this because it was easy to read. Like, the writing and the plot was easy to follow. It didn't, you know, make me miserable like this one reading it. I am so sorry if you really liked this book, but I thought the characters were so bland. I didn't buy any of the relationships. They didn't feel real. They didn't feel truly connected. So there was just nothing at stake to me at all. I didn't care whether something bad happened to any of them. I didn't care whether the conflict got resolved because I didn't care for the characters. And it was so predictable. I guessed what happens at the end right from the start. The setup was so obvious. And then the last one was Death in Their Hands. This was so disappointing because I obviously loved Lapvona. So I thought, great, maybe Tessa Moshfegh is like the author for me. This could have been a short story. You didn't need to write this many pages because truly nothing happens. I think I got so fed up with it that I skipped about 100 pages to the last chapter to just see what happens and how it got resolved. Nothing happened. I didn't miss out on anything. I very easily picked the story back up even though I skipped 100 pages. The ending was, I felt, very predictable. Again, something that you could have guessed right from the beginning. I like the idea of the plot, but like I said, it could have been a short story. You didn't need to be writing all of this. I did also reread My Year of Rest and Relaxation because I read it a few years ago, and I thought after loving Lapvona so much that maybe I would like that one more. And I think that also ended up being like a 2.5 star read for me. And then I also read Eileen this year, which was like a 3 star for me. So I think Lapvona was like a standout from Tessa Moshfegh's writing that I just really liked because it was such a strange and weird story. But yeah, I hope I wasn't too negative. I feel so bad talking badly about these because, like I said, I'm sure none of them are bad. It's just my personal opinion and yeah, what I do and don't enjoy. But yeah, I'm going to end the video here. I think that was enough book chat. The next 2 uploads are going to be sit down videos. So next week I'm going to do my Everything I Made in 2025 video, and the following week I'm going to talk about my 2026 plans, and then the week after that I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to post. It was a very vlog heavy month. I'm really happy that everyone enjoyed the vlogs. I've really been enjoying filming them and editing them as well, so I'm glad it kind of like resonated connected with people. I'm sure I'll do another vlog in January, but yeah, it's just been such a busy, knit heavy month that it just felt like the right time to share it with everyone. But yeah, I hope you all have a lovely Christmas, no matter how you celebrate, whether you're family, by yourself, whatever. I hope you just get a few nice days of rest. My plan is to put my phone on airplane mode for the majority of Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and I want to read lots and just have some good food and not look at my phone all the time. It stresses me out, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and hopefully I will see you next week. Goodbye.